Come on, Livingston, we're gonna go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We're gonna go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across. It's turned in. It's Pittman who's got it. Livingston leads.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead.
Man, you score.
If we march to
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Hello and welcome back to TalkLivi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Andy, and today I'm joined as always by Euan, and for the first time we welcome new host Angus McGregor. Angus, welcome to TalkLivi. First up, tell us a bit about yourself, lifelong Livy fan.
Yeah, basically supported Livy all my life. Basically born around the same time that Livingston moved through here, and my family had moved through from the West Coast about the same time. And my dad's always said that he was basically looking for a local team to go and watch the games rather than just support a team. So thankfully Livy came along, or I would have been a Hearts fan, sadly. But things worked out well, and here we are. So yeah.
Brilliant. You also do a bit of writing, Angus. Tell us a little bit about that. You obviously do some previews and things on Twitter and Facebook and things. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I run my own website. It's called angussmcgregor.com, and basically there you can find weekly previews for all the Scottish Premiership games. So not only Livingston, but it covers all the other teams in that as well. You also find like Livingston specific like articles like regarding like earlier in the season, like how badly we're doing, like what was going wrong, like just examples of kind of stuff like that. And also film stuff if you're ever interested in any of that.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure, Angus, you'll be a good addition to the podcast. You'll bring some more brains to the guys. Certainly, it'll add to Euan's brains and obviously numbers as well, because Callum Brown and Callum were really here. So you've made a good start. You've actually equalled the number of appearances that Callum Brown's made this season. So yeah, well done for that.
Can we call out Callum Brown and why he's not here today as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Apparently he's incapable of watching Gillette Soccer Saturday at the same time as talking on a podcast. So that's why Callum Brown's not here today. He has to be called out in that because that's shocking, Pat.
Yeah, and Callum was milking cows again. So, yeah, there's that as well. But anyway, moving on. Coming up, it's a couple of busy weeks ahead for the club and for us, obviously. We're going to try our best to pack in as much as we possibly can over the next couple of weeks. But this week, though, we're going to take a look back at Wednesday night's cup encounter with Ross County. Hampden awaits now. We'll then look ahead to our up-and-coming festive fixtures with a massive game away to Hamilton on Wednesday. And finally, we'll look ahead to the Killie game at Rugby Park. Can we keep this unbeaten run going?
It was a massive night for the club on Wednesday, a home tie in the Betfred Cup and a chance to return to Hampden with a win. It was Ross County who were the visitors to West Lothian, looking to bounce back from some awful league form and secure their place at our expense. Thankfully though, early first half goals from Craig Sibbald and Alan Forrest were enough to see us progress and secure our place in the last four. It was a brilliant night for the club, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Making a semi-final in any competition is always a great thing, and the performance as well just makes it even better. Obviously, with Gary Holt leaving quite recently, there's always that kind of doubt as whether or not with a new manager, it's just that kind of bounce you get with a new man in charge. But I think on Wednesday night, we were absolutely we weren't really troubled an awful lot, and I think the performance as well as making a cup semi-final was really, really encouraging.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of these ones. I think we spoke it up, Euan, certainly when in the preview episode we done, that it was a massive game for the club, and it was good to see the club, the players, the management all talking the game up, that how big a game it was for the club, and I think they rose to that occasion. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying that they didn't trouble us. I wasn't sitting comfortably in the first half, shall we say, despite being 2-0 up. I wasn't sitting particularly comfortable watching the game because I felt Ross County created a couple of opportunities, and they probably went in at half time thinking how we 2-0 down here, but we took our chances. Thankfully, a really good finish by Sibbald. What I would say is, and we don't say it very often on the podcast, is what brilliant refereeing. You know, looking back at it, the linesman's obviously raised his flag. The referee's close to the incident, and it wasn't until actually we seen the replay that we knew what had happened, and the referee's called it absolutely spot on. It's a great call, and you know, it's true what they say, play to the whistle. The Ross County player stopped, Sibbald played to the whistle, he ran in, and it was a great finish. And then obviously Alan Forrest scoring a header, something else that we don't say very often, albeit from a foot out. But a header is a header. It's the old Aaron Taylor Sinclair header from a foot out. But that kind of settled the nerves slightly, and I think credit has to go to the management team. You said, Angus, there, that it's always wary when we're changing managers and things. I think credit has to go to Davy. I think early in the season there was a lot of talk about maybe being slow to change things when things weren't going for us. Well, Martindale made a change at half time, and it basically stopped those attacks from Ross County. We gave away a few set pieces which came to nothing, but other than that they didn't really threaten us in the second half, and I think that's great credit to the tactical nous of the new management team as well. But no, I mean, it's brilliant to now get the opportunity to look forward to a cup semi-final, albeit we probably won't be there, but it will be a great occasion for the club. And you know, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity now, looking at the final four, to go on and emulate the success of 2004.
Yeah, I think we started off really well. Mullen had a free kick in the first couple of minutes, and as you say, for the goal, one, it's great. Robinson playing to the whistle, and then Sibbald playing to the whistle. You know, Robbo could easily stop, but he just played on. Good through ball. Sibbald's went and finished it off. I would say Ross County were playing a really high line first half, and I think we were trying to almost play quite direct and going behind quite early. We were cutting out the midfield a wee bit, I thought, at times. And Ross County did offer a good threat. I thought they were kind of slipping balls in between the fullback and the centre half. Really good save by Stridejet from Ross Stewart in the first half, and they had another one with Guthrie, which I'm sure we'll come on to as well. Ross County were claiming for kind of being the last man. The second goal, it's bonkers defending by Ross County, to say the least, but we spoke about that in previous episodes with County. Defending their box, they're not great. That's the reason why they've got I think it's the second worst defence in the league. But it's good pressing by Pittman to force the mistake. Pittman's claiming an assist out of that as well, which is remarkable. And Forrest is coming in at the back post, which again we've touched on. 2 or 3 of his goals, he's kind of came in off the line and got in at the back stick for a couple of goals. Massive credit needs to go to Davy and Foxy, because I thought the first half was quite end to end and it was really open. And I think making that change to go 3 at the back just completely nullified Ross County. I thought Kieran Brown was excellent when he came on as well. Defended everything that was in front of him. A couple of really good clearances as well. And to be honest, we looked like the only team that were going to score second half. Robbo's hit the woodwork. Fitzwaters had a header which probably should hit the target with. Serrano hitting the inside of the post as well. So I think it was a comfortable night in the end. But I think it's, as I say, good management by Martindale and Foxy to notice the threat that Ross County had in the first half to kind of nullify that. And as I say, we never looked troubled second half. We were it's the Livy we come to expect. You know, when we have a lead, we'll stay in a lead because we're good at defending our box. We look really solid, but we still offered that threat. And got to say, it was a massive night for the club. And then obviously the news came through that Rangers got knocked out. And you know what? It's really refreshing for the whole of Scottish football that you've got 4 teams outside the old firm that could go and win one of the major trophies for the first time in 4 years. So that's really big for all 4 clubs, but it's a massive opportunity. And I'm sure the other 3 clubs will see it as that as well. So it's going to be a very tough route to the final still, I think, because St Mirren have already beat us twice this season. Hibs will fancy themselves as favourites, but all the noise coming out of Hibs saying that they've pretty much won it already, just as reminiscent of 2004 all over again. So as you say, Andy, hopefully we can repeat that.
The only losers from the cup draw is the Premier Sports, which is absolutely fantastic to see. But just going back to the game, quick one, Angus. Euan mentioned the John Guthrie incident in the first half, and then there was an incident later in the game which he was probably fortunate not to get a second yellow card for. What was your thoughts on the incident? Was it a red card? Was it an amber card? What did you think?
I mean, I don't want to sit in the fence, but I really do feel that decision is, if it happened against us, for example, if Alex Jakovitti pulled down Robinson in that situation, I think we'd be absolutely screaming for it. Looking back at it a wee bit more, you can make the argument that the ball rolls through to Stryjek before the striker would even get a chance of getting it. It's all ifs, buts and maybes in that instance, though. But I can see why Ross County, Stuart Kettlewell and a very raging Richie Britton would be aggrieved by it. The second one, late in the game, it is a foul. I don't know if it's bad enough to merit a second yellow card. But then again, the referee's already made a couple of dubious decisions, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they had brandished it. To be fair, we are due a bit of luck from a referee. You look at the Kilmarnock incident earlier in the season, it's not helped us out. A couple of other penalties in that we've conceded, it's been a wee bit questionable. So it's really nice for us to actually get a few decisions in our favour for what seems like a rarity.
Yeah, I said at the time I thought it was a yellow, because for me I thought there was covering defenders, and as you say, Angus, the ball kind of ran through to Stryjek. You wouldn't say, was it, I can't remember who it was that went through on goal for Ross County, but I wouldn't have said they were in control of the ball when they got through. So whether it would have been a clear goal scoring opportunity Guthrie's denied, I would question that. So I think it was a yellow card. Late on, it's probably the ref just not wanting to send someone off. That late in the game, giving a second yellow out. I have to say, he was a bit lucky, but as you said, we've not had a lot of luck so far this season, so it's about time that everyone says, it balances itself out over the course of the season, and maybe it's starting to balance out now. And long may that continue as well.
To go back to the earlier point about going to a back 5, when that initially happened at half-time, I was a wee bit concerned just due to how we've defended this season. To sit back so straight away and kind of invite that kind of pressure onto us. I wasn't entirely 100% sure that we'd be able to succeed in doing that. But I have to say, Guthrie and Fitzwater were absolutely excellent, and Brown coming on as well. Absolutely no problems at all. The first half, County did pose more of a threat, but in the second half, it was just balls into the box, and we just absolutely dealt with everything. And I think Guthrie and Fitzwater in particular, who's received a fair bit of flack this season, myself included, has not shied away from pointing out some of the errors made. But I thought it was absolutely great on Wednesday night for us. Another one I'd like to point out as well is Josh Mullen. Absolutely no idea why Ross County have let him go. Every time on that right flank, he's getting the ball, he's running at defenders, he's causing problems. You look at Ross County, they're struggling for goals. Why have they let him go? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but more than thrilled, and I'm really, really glad that he's kind of hit the ground running here, and he's made that right wing position his own so quickly as well.
Yeah, the two that really stuck out for me, I think Sims did have a really good game in general, but I thought Robbo was very good as well. I love Robbo's movement up top. He's such a clever player. The opening goal, for example, he's just played on. He's kept going. He's noticed the touches came off the Ross County player, and he's able to play. So those two really stuck out for me. I agree with you, Angus. I think Fitzwater looked a bit unsteady, but he said himself that he's had to adjust to the pace of the game up here. I think it was a bit unexpected that the game's as quick as it is up here. And I think he looks like the real deal now. The last few games, he's been excellent. He's for me, he's been a real standout in those games. I think a lot of credit has to go to Stryjek as well. Again, one of Robbie McCrory's biggest defenders. I do understand why he was dropped after the kind of mistakes in the Kilmarnock game, but fair play to Max. He's came in and he's made that position his own between the sticks, and fair play to him. And he made a couple of big saves last on Wednesday night that helped us get over the line.
What do you put it down to? Obviously, Holt left 4 games ago now. We've brought Martindale in, who was part of the same management team, albeit he's got his own ideas. But we've now won 4 in a row. What's the difference now? What's happened to this side that we've went from struggling to pick up results to winning games, keeping clean sheets again, being the old Livingston? What's changed?
I think it might just be that kick up the arse that they needed. The fact that Gary Holt just instantly came out and said that he feels like he's taken this team as far as they've went, that all came to a surprise to us. So I can imagine how much of a surprise it would have been to the players. So for them to have the manager go away so quickly after a string of poor results, that game against St Mirren was really, really dreadful from us. So perhaps that has been the wake-up call that, we really, really do need to buck up our ideas here, as effectively we've cost the manager his job. Well, we've made the manager make a decision on his future. So it does seem as if it could be something as simple as that, because the personnel's not changed an awful lot. The one main factor in the actual team I would think has changed it is the fact that we've now moved to having a more mobile striker up front, and now we are defending from the front again. J. Emmanuel Thomas, he's a silky player. He's good on the ball. He's not going to give you that kind of tenacity up front that likes of Robinson, Tiffany, or Poplatnik will do. Losing Lyndon Dykes was always going to be a troubling task. You're not going to replace those goals, but you can replace the work rate. And with Jet, I didn't really feel we were kind of getting that. And I think in recent weeks with Poplatnik and now Robinson, we're really, really seeing how much of a difference it makes if we've got somebody buzzing about, not giving the defenders any time on the ball whatsoever.
Yeah, Angus, I think you're spot on, mate. We touched on it on the podcast after the St Johnstone game that I think it was quite evident that Davey was sending a bit of a message. The fact that it was Poplatnik up top, then it was Tiffany that came on. Then when Tiffs came off, it was Robbo that came on. He clearly has an idea of what type of striker he wants. And if you heard Davey's comments after the game talking about Robbo making his 100th appearance, he talks about that. He epitomises what the club's been about the last few years and that work ethic that he has. I agree as well with the Gary Holt thing. I think the fact that we always said that we didn't think Gary was under pressure, certainly from the club's perspective and the fans' perspective. And the fact that Gary's walked out the door is probably just the boot up the arse that some of the players needed. But I will say, I think we spoke about kind of being in a wee transition stage where we maybe try to play a bit more. I think we've gone back to kind of the basics of previous seasons and we're trying to play in the right areas instead of trying to build from the back. And I think that has made a difference as well. I think that's added to us being a bit more solid at the back and a wee bit less open at times, because we're now playing in the right areas. We're not giving the ball away and, on the halfway line, and teams are able to break on us quite the way that they were earlier in the season. So I think there's a few elements to it, but I think one factor being the fact that Gary Holt's left a very secure job, I think is maybe shocked the players into a bit of action and showing what they are capable of.
I think it's very interesting that you brought up that change of style again, Euan, because I was looking at our possession stats this morning, funnily enough, since Martindale took over. And, we spoke about it a lot earlier in the season about the change of style and the centre-backs coming out from defence, playing out from the back, and just about every game apart outside Rangers, Celtic and Hibs at the start of the season, we had more possession. Apart from the Ayr United game since Martindale's taken over, the 3 league games, the 2 league games plus the game against Ross County, we've had less possession than the opposition. So there's a clear change in style already in terms of going a little bit longer, but as you say, playing in those areas and not taking as many chances at the back. And I think that's obviously made a massive difference. It's how the players have played over the years. It's where the successes came from. And it's simple. It's something as simple as going back to the tried and tested, and that's what we've done. But just quickly, before we move on, you mentioned it earlier on, but the draw for the Cup, we've obviously drawn St Mirren now, and the other semi-final is Hibs versus St Johnstone. We've got to be pretty pleased with that. I think both sides will be happy with that draw, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. St Mirren, every team probably would have wanted St Mirren just due to the fact that they are the lowest ranked team in the league right now, out of the teams left. But at the same time, you've got to look at the teams that they've knocked out. They've beat Aberdeen and they've beat Rangers. So you can't look down at them at all. They'll be very happy to get us because they've already beat us twice this season, and in all honesty, we've not laid a glove on them at all. But hopefully that also means that our players will have that desire to go on and make things right against St Mirren. They've had 2 chances against them now. First game of the season, okay, fair enough. But that last game there, which eventually cost Gary Holt his job, they have to make up for that. And Cup semi-final at Hampden Park, chance to get to a Cup final. How many of those players will have played in a Cup final in this country yet? Ambrose, Robinson maybe with Hearts. It's a thing that comes around once in a career for some players, and I mean, it'd be absolutely amazing for like Scott Pittman and that to get a Cup final appearance, and absolutely massive game for us. And there's no reason why we can't make the final.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, as I say, all 4 teams that are left in the competition, it's just really refreshing for Scottish football, and I think the cup ties could be quite entertaining because I think all the teams will see it as that massive opportunity to go and make a bit of history. Obviously, St Mirren won the cup, I think, back in 2013, the League Cup. Hibs won it 2006. St Johnstone obviously won the Scottish Cup 2014. So it's not often that these opportunities come round for clubs of our size to go and reach a major final. And as you said, Angus, like players like Scott Pittman, Keegan Jacobs, guys who have been about the club for years and years, being at the lowest point kind of in League One with the club, and then getting the opportunity to walk out at Hampden. Even the semi-final a massive occasion, but the opportunity to play in a League Cup final and emulate guys like Stuart Lovell and Fernandez, Marvin Andrews, all the names that we can ring off from that 2014 would be huge for some of these players. And even guys like Alan Forrest, his brothers won multiple trophies. The opportunity for him to get to a cup final and potentially get a winner's medal, it's a massive opportunity for guys like that.
Yeah, I think you boys have said it all. It's a great opportunity for the club. It's a great opportunity for all 4 clubs, but it would be fantastic, and it would be a great reward for all the hard work that's gone on behind the scenes at Livingston over the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a quite remarkable rise, and I think the pinnacle of that would be to go on and win a major trophy. Obviously, St Mirren will be there thinking exactly the same. It's a great opportunity. St Johnstone will be saying the same. Hibs will be rubbing their hands together thinking it's in the bag. But, it's a chance for the players to write themselves into folklore, and, let's hope they can do it. But there's a big few weeks before that, so, we'll come on to that a bit later. But it's great to be there, and it was an absolute fantastic night and a fantastic result for the club on Wednesday, that's for sure.
the big games keep on coming for the club and for interim manager Davy Martindale. On Wednesday, we travel to Lanarkshire to face a team that many fans would describe as our bogey team. The team that sends many a Scottish football fans into a cold sweat is a trip to face Hamilton Accies. This one's massive for both clubs now, as both teams still look to get away from the relegation zone. How do you see this one going, guys?
Well, as you say, it's going to be a huge game for us. Hamilton, I just have this unnerving feeling every time we play Hamilton, especially at New Douglas Park. We're a bit hit or miss there. We're either really good or we're absolutely rotten when we go to New Douglas Park. But it's a massive game. Whilst we're recording, Hamilton are currently 1-0 up in Dingwall, so it could mean they close the gap. But as I said, these next two games against Hamilton and Kilmarnock, they're massive because our January run of fixtures looks quite tough on paper. A lot of games in a short space of time. So this is a great opportunity to try and get 3 points on the board. Another win on the road as well. But it's going to be a tough game because I say it every week. They'll be looking at us going, this is a great chance for us to get points on the board as well. And they have picked up a little bit of late, Hamilton. I know they lost 4-0 to Hibs, but either side of that, they've had some more positive results. But we've got to go there in the form that we're in. We've got to go there and fancy ourselves to go and beat Hamilton and start putting a bit of breathing space between ourselves and the bottom of the table.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an absolutely massive game. I think this is a game earlier in the season that I think frustrated just about every Livingston fan going when they came and beat us after doing virtually hee-haw for 90 minutes other than score 2 goals, which was bitterly disappointing and extremely frustrating. Obviously, as you mentioned, Euan, we're recording this on Saturday afternoon, midway through the games on Saturday, and they are currently winning up at Ross County, which I'm not particularly surprised about. I think Ross County are in a really bad way, but also I think we would all be screaming for a draw in that one just now. Bit a long way to go in that bit, but obviously looking at the game itself, it is a huge game, and it's one that we should be targeting for 3 points. Having said that, we've not got the best of records against Hamilton. I think out of 30 games we've played them, we've only beat them 8 times. So, as you said, Angus, that they are a bogey side, for want of a better saying, for us. And it is one that we all go into dreading, the ultimate sucker punch, being in control of the game and losing a goal late on seems to be the theme of the games over the years. But I think it's important we go into it with confidence. I think we're in a different situation now to what we were earlier in the season. We should be going into it with confidence. We should be going into it knowing that we have good players. Looking across the 2 starting 11s, I wouldn't substitute any of their players for our players. And our away form has been a bit better this season as well. And they've got the worst home form in the league, I believe. So we should be going there and taking the game to them, and hopefully striving off the pressure a little bit. Professional footballers, they like to have a motivation, something to play for, and there's nothing bigger than winning 3 points in this game, and not just pushing ourselves away from the bottom teams, but bringing ourselves closer to the teams above us.
Yeah, just to go back to the game that was on earlier in the season, I think that paints a very, very clear picture of what we can expect from Hamilton. They're not going to create an awful lot. I think in the league they have actually created the least amount of chances, and they're going to try and set up to try and frustrate us. They don't create an awful lot in open play. They scored. Today now they're on 20 goals. 3 of them were awarded to them in that forfeited win over St Mirren. But out of the 16 goals that they've scored so far this season, 10 of them have come from crossing situations, with over half of them coming from set pieces. So it shows you exactly what their threat is. They're good at getting the ball in a wide situation and attacking the ball. We've already seen this season how they punished us with Hacky Madoffin and I believe the boy Fulton. No, was it Monroe? Sorry. That's the kind of issues that they're going to cause us. We just need to really, really defend like we did on Wednesday night, because they are a team who are going to thrive. Where you've seen Ross County struggling to deal with us having bodies in the box and attacking crosses that were coming in, Hamilton are not going to be like that. Hamilton are great at somehow just getting to that ball or getting to the rebound, and it's going to cause us a lot of issues, and we need to be switched on for the full game. And I think in a game like this, it's very important that we start off well. We started well against them last time and then build on that. I think one goal lead against Hamilton, especially at home for them, it's probably not going to be comfortable for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we touched on that, talking about that Hamilton game previously, that the only real threat we kind of saw from them was from dead balls, and that was the case. Both goals came from set pieces, and it was the ultimate Hamilton Aki sucker punch that they laid with us that day. But at the same time, we should have had the game out of sight. The chances we created in that game, Pittman's missed an open goal from about 3 yards in that game. Lowcock hit the bar. We had ample opportunities to put the game to bed, and I think we need to have a ruthless streak about us over at New Douglas Park on Wednesday night. We need to be ruthless when we get the opportunities. We need to put Hamilton at the sword, and as you say, try and get a quick start in the game and put the onus on Hamilton. Hamilton will want to come and sit in and frustrate, and as you say, hit us on the break, hit us with a dead ball. We need to be on the front foot, I think, from the get-go, and as I say, if we can get a quick start like we did against Ross County, I'd fancy us to pick them off on the counter-attack, because we have looked more solid at the back recently, but we have had that threat going forward still.
It's almost, it's almost a mirror image to the game on Wednesday night against Ross County. You're talking about Hamilton with scoring a lot of goals for set pieces and crosses. I think we mentioned it last week prior to the Ross County game that we need to avoid giving away set pieces and avoid crosses into our box, because that's where Ross County were getting most of their sort of benefits from, and you've just called it there. With your sort of stats, we usually get them for Callum, so it's good to get more stats for someone else. But you mentioned it before we started recording. You and Hamilton seem to be that team that's like a floater that doesn't want to flush away, and they're doing it. They're doing exactly the same again. They're picking up wins every 3 or 4 games, and it's going to be enough to see them through at the end. But hopefully they don't pick this time to get a win against us. Hopefully it goes for us this time. Looking obviously at our team, we're going to be without Marvin Bartley. He's obviously suspended for this one due to his yellow cards. He's going to be out. The other sort of question mark is over who starts up front. We've obviously started Robbo on Wednesday. He done himself no harm. Pablatnik came on and done well, and he played well previously. Apart from those two sort of positions, we can probably have a guess that we're going to start with almost the same 11 except from those two. But who comes in to replace Marv, and who starts up front, do you think?
I think for Marv, the straight switch comes in and Jason Holt comes back into the team. I don't think we have too many options, like who else can come in there. Maybe Steve Lawson, but I think maybe in a game where it's going to be very, very competitive in the middle of the park and it's going to be quite scrappy, I think Jason Holt with his kind of, not saying that Lawson isn't one who'll get stuck in, but I think Holt has maybe that wee bit of a nastier side to his game where he will go and he'll go and get into challenges, get properly wired into Hamilton Ackies. As for up front, I don't see any reason to change Robinson. I do think Pablatnik has been probably unlucky to have picked up that injury that's seen him come off at half-time against St Johnstone, because the games prior to that he's been excellent. But as you see, Robinson came on and he's had performances that have made it the jersey his own. You can't justify dropping Robinson at this moment because somebody's came back. The performances have merited it. He's came back and he's got involved in a couple of goals and his work rate's been tremendous. So yeah, I think the only difference would be is Holt coming into the team, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's just a straight swap. Jason Holt coming in, who's signed a contract extension as well during the week, which is really good news. Merited on his kind of performances since he's joined the club. But Yeah, I think he'll add that. I think it's more the experience element I'd put Holt in, because obviously you lose a lot of that with Bartley coming out the side. Holt's an experienced pro. We've seen that in games, so I think that's why he comes in probably ahead of someone like Lawson. I think Lawson maybe gives you a bit more drive from the middle of the park, maybe a bit more spark than Holt maybe does. But I think for the experience element, I think Holt will come in. I agree with you, Angus. I think I don't see him dropping Robinson after his last couple of performances. I think he really turned the game up at McDermott Park, and he was obviously involved a lot on Wednesday night as well. And David knows what he gets with Robbo. He's talked about it after the Ross County game. So I think Robbo starts up front. I think will be unchanged unless there's any injuries between now and then, other than obviously Holt coming in for Bartley.
And do you think then it's a little bit an advantage? Obviously, we've mentioned how Hamilton are playing today. We've obviously got a weekend off due to the Scottish Cup final. Do you think that'll play a bit an advantage for us, or is it almost you would rather be playing this weekend because they are form? You know, what do you think on that one?
I think from a player's perspective, they would probably prefer to just keep the ball rolling. Also, at the same time, we've already had a game. Well, the only kind of experience we've had this season, I think, where we've had a fixture where a team has had like a time off was against Kilmarnock, and we've seen how that went. So I'm not entirely sure if it kind of justifies. We might be a wee bit better rested than that, but will it play into things in the end? I guess we'll have to see.
Suppose it gives us a little bit more time to prep for the game, and Accies don't have that luxury of being able to kind of focus on us as much with the game against Ross County. So gives us a little bit more time to maybe analyse Hamilton and where we can try and exploit them and punish them. But as you say, a lot of footballers would rather playing games regularly and keep the ball rolling. But we'll wait and see. Motherwell had a spell off when we played them. We were caught cold by them, thinking we would be a bit fresher. Kilmarnock as well. Aberdeen, right at the start of the season, had a spell off and they caught us cold as well. So it doesn't always work out that playing all the time. So we'll wait and see, but hopefully it doesn't have any impact on the team.
And then just quickly on Hamilton then, we've obviously talked about our starting 11, but who's the main threats for Hamilton? Obviously, who would have thought Hakeem Adolphin going there? And apart from you, Euan, you mentioned it last year on the podcast that we should have been playing him up front all along. But who's the main threats? They've obviously been starting with the lad Moyle up front and the lad Smith, but also they like to play this back five with wing backs. And obviously the last two games we've came up against similar styles of play, and Ross County and St Johnstone playing that type of style. Do you maybe envisage us changing as well? We've done it at half time in both games now to sort of match up to the opposition. Do you see that coming into effect? And who's the main threats for us that we really need to look out for from Hamilton's perspective?
I think we'll probably still set up 4-2-3-1 because I doubt we'll start three at the back unless there's more changes made to the side to kind of accommodate the likes of Kieran Brown coming in. I think we'll still set up 4-2-3-1. I think we've caused problems against St Johnstone yet. First half we were a wee bit quiet, but we did get in behind them a few times with Josh Mullen. And the same with Ross County, we were getting in behind them quite a lot as well at times. Josh had that cross kind of, for example, from the free kick, getting in behind, getting a cross in. And we've talked about how Hamilton are struggling to defend their box, and I would be having your two natural wide players, which are Forrest and Mullen, and to try and exploit that, get crosses into the box, driving into the box, creating opportunities. So I don't see us tweaking our shape to start with. But the last two games we've seen that Davey has made that change later in the game to try and shore up a little bit, or the St Johnstone game, I think it was more to kind of nullify them that period in the game. So I'm sure, depending on how the game's going, I'm sure we might see Davey kind of another tactical masterstroke.
Yeah, I think it's good that either way, we've got two systems there that we've actually been playing pretty well in recently. The game against Ross County midweek is a prime example of that. We played the 4-2-3-1 the first half, got the goals, and then in the second half we switched to the 5 at the back and defended really, really well. We might have a wee bit less joy against Hamilton, because I would imagine now with them playing 5 at the back, they're also playing Adolphin as like a defensive midfielder now. So like lastly, he was suspended against Hibs, but the 3 games prior to that, he started playing as like a holding midfielder, kind of becoming like the new Alex Gogic for them. And you would imagine that whenever like they're defending, he probably drops a wee bit deeper and he becomes sort of like a 6th defender, like a 4th centre half essentially. So it's going to be quite a crowded boxer. So we're going to really, really need to be creative against them. Another player who seems to be a threat for him lately is Ross Callahan. I believe he was at Hearts a couple of seasons ago and ended up at Raith Rovers. He scored today. He's now their top goal scorer with 6, I believe. I think a couple of them being penalties, but he does seem to be a player who has kind of been rejuvenated under Brian Rice. I think leaving Hearts, many people would have been like, oh, he's just going to kind of float around like the Championship and that. But he's came up to the Premiership with Hamilton and he's done all right for them. He's done as well as like any player probably can for Hamilton in that kind of position. He works hard, he gets on the ball. But yeah, he's definitely one, especially with Bartley being out, but we'll have to keep a closer eye on, I believe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've looked at our side, we've looked at Hamilton, we've looked at all the threats and where the goals are coming from. So now's the time to talk predictions. I finally got one right during the week. At long last. Angus, this is your first dive into predictions on the podcast, but you do it every week on your articles and things. So yeah, we'll start with you, Angus, this week. What are you thinking going into this game? What's your prediction for it?
With Hamilton, you never know what's going to happen. My heart wants to say that we could go in, we could net a couple of goals. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for us, though. I'm going to be confident that we can sneak it, especially with the form that we're in. I think we can take it, yeah.
Euan, what are you thinking?
I'm kind of flirting around the idea of 1-2 now. I'm going to go 2-0. I think we'll get one early on, and I think we'll hit them on the break when they maybe need to go for it a little bit more at Hamilton. Again, I'm kind of talking with my heart over my head because I just dread these games with Hamilton.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you guys. It's one of these ones that you're worried about the entire lead up to it. Hamilton have got the knack of scoring against us, and despite us obviously keeping 3 clean sheets and 4 under Martindale, I think this might be a game that we'll lose a goal. Hamilton are that team, but we've got enough about us to take the game to them, and we've got that bit of bounce back ability now that we didn't have earlier in the season. So I'm going to go 2-1 for Livy, and hope for the best. I believe that every game they've played, or certainly most games that Hamilton have played, they're averaging over 2.5 goals. So there's an opportunity there for some goals in the game. So hopefully we're all right, because we've all predicted wins. It's a huge game for the club, no doubt about it, and hopefully we can rise to that occasion and get the big 3 points that's needed. Finally, on this episode, we're going to take a quick look at our game with Kilmarnock. Alec Dyer will undoubtedly be frustrated with his inconsistencies of his side, whose form has been up and down this season. We won't take too long over this one, because obviously there's a lot to look back on, and obviously Kilmarnock have got a couple of games to come before this. We've obviously got a midweek game coming up as well. But obviously, what do we think going into this game? It's another huge game. We're talking about Ross County being a massive game, Hamilton being a massive game. These massive games keep on coming, and Kilmarnock certainly won. What do we think going into this one?
I think your point about the inconsistencies frustrating Alex Dyer is a very good point. They've played 18 games so far this season, and they have only drawn 2, with the rest of them being kind of like an even split of like wins and losses. So they seem to go through like wee spells where I don't think they won the first 5 games of the season. Then they went on a 3-game winning streak. Then they didn't win. They won like 1 in the next 4. Then they won like another 3. So it seems to be, what week do you catch this Kilmarnock side on? Rather, like, you look at their team, they are very capable of doing more, and they just don't seem to be doing it sometimes. Like, you look at the game against Hamilton, should they be losing that? Probably not. But then you look at games against like Celtic where they pick up points. It's like, it's really, really bizarre, this Kilmarnock team this season. And because of that, I think it is really, really hard to kind of predict how they will do against us. Even in the game against us earlier this season, I think it's safe to say that they were very, very much aided by a very poor refereeing decision and then also a very poor goalkeeping error. I don't think they were necessarily that great against us. I think they matched us, but I don't think the scoreline suggested what the actual game was about. So I feel like it'll be a tough game, and yeah, depending on what Kilmarnock side shows up, I don't think we should really fear them, to be honest.
No, I don't think we need to fear Kilmarnock. As you kind of touched on, the game earlier in the season, yes, they did win the game 3-1, but they were aided by Greg Aitken, who's a Kilmarnock season ticket holder. That's fact, by the way. I've been told by Kilmarnock fans. Dubious decision, and then a bad mistake by Robbie. But we created ample opportunities in that game to get a result. I always say that. If we've created the opportunities, they were just more professional, more clinical on the day. Again, as you touched on, they're very unpredictable, Kilmarnock, so it makes them quite dangerous. You don't know what Kilmarnock side you're going to get, but looking at our previous form at Rugby Park, it's not somewhere that we, 1, tend to get results, and 2, tend to play particularly well at. So it's a game I'm not overly confident with, to be honest. I mean, Killie do have a number of threats. Kabamba has scored a number of goals this season. He's been a handful up top. We saw a game against Celtic. He almost replicated a kind of Lyndon Dykes and ragdoll Julian about quite a bit. Chris Burke, the assist king for Kilmarnock as well. I think he has been struggling with an injury recently, though, so hasn't featured quite as regularly the last few games. But they definitely have a bit about them, Kilmarnock, and on their day they can be very difficult to play against. 2 boys in the middle of the park, Dick or Power, are always very competitive. So I think that area of the park could be where the game's won and lost. That battle between the likes of Sybil, Bartley and Power and Dicker.
Yeah, no, I think obviously reiterate the sentiments for both you guys. I think Kilmarnock's inconsistencies are mad, really. When I think they're mid-table in terms of offence and defence this season. They're scoring enough goals to win them games, but they're also conceding a few goals so that they are there for the taking. Undoubtedly, it's going to be tough. I think you mentioned our record against Kilmarnock's not the best anyway, but especially at Rugby Park, I think we've only won 3 games in 12 at Rugby Park over the years, and even that was away back in 2004. Obviously, having said that, we spent a lot of that time in different divisions, but it's a long time to go without a win at a certain ground, and to be fair, I think it's only 6 wins overall in about 25 games against Kilmarnock. So we've not had the best of times against them, and as you said as well, Euan, our performances haven't been great, particularly great at Rugby Park either. But David Martindale's the man to obviously change that around. He's obviously stopped the rot a few weeks ago in terms of our form away from home, and up at Perth it wasn't the best of records, so hopefully we can do that again and replicate that sort of changing records and go there and get a win. I think you're spot on in terms of the midfield battle's going to be huge, and it's too early to obviously pose that question of Bartley coming back in. It just depends on how we get on obviously on Wednesday against Hamilton. It's always very difficult to do these cine previews with a few games prior, but obviously with the festive period we don't have much time to do it, which is kind of why we're doing it now. But obviously you've mentioned a few threats for Kilmarnock. Kabamba is obviously one. Done quite well there pronouncing his name. I'm usually the Paul Merson of the podcast. But the way Guthrie and Fitzwater and Brown and I've been defending. I think we can cope with that threat. I think down the sides, Burke is obviously the main threat for them, I would say, putting the balls into the box. I think it's really important that we try and stop balls coming at the box from him. That'll be a massive part of the game. And obviously, if we defend the box the way we have been over the last 4 games, I don't see why we can stop that rot and go there and pick up a good result. Certainly the way we're playing going forward, because we are creating chances as well. So, yeah, it's you said it, Euan, a few weeks ago. It's a defining part of our season. We've beaten Ayr United, we've beaten St Johnstone, we've beaten Ross County. Can we go and do the double this week and beat Hamilton and then beat Kilmarnock? It would certainly top off what's been an excellent December, that's for sure.
So what are we going to say prediction-wise? Obviously, we hate kind of doing predictions when we've still got a game to play beforehand, but what are we thinking for the Kilmarnock game?
Yeah, it's really tough just now to predict that one, but you know what? I'm going to be semi-positive. I'm going to say we're going to go there and get a result, but I don't think we'll do enough to get a win. So I'm going to go a 1-1 draw and keep this unbeaten run going under Martindale.
I was thinking something in similar lines. Based on their kind of recent form, not too sure that we should really be kind of scared of them or anything. But now I've said that, they'll probably beat Aberdeen tomorrow and then beat Dundee United midweek, and then it'll all look completely different. However, we're going to just completely forget about that, and we're going to be positive because it's Christmas, and we're going to go for a 2-1 Livingston win.
Andy, I'm going to be along the same lines as you, but I think there's going to be more goals in it. I'm going 2 each. I'm going for quite a high scoring one. Wee Boxing Day cracker.
Oh, wow. Boxing Day cracker. Yeah, good one, mate. Aye, well done. So just a quick little preview of the Kilmarnock game. Obviously, a lot of games between now and then, so don't take this as gospel. Predictions might change midweek, depending on how things go. But that's them just now, and obviously a big week coming up for the club. Hopefully we can top off this great festive period with a couple of wins.
As we mentioned earlier, it's a busy time for the club, and we'll do our best to bring you as much content as we can during the Christmas and New Year period. We can't thank you enough for sticking with us and continuing to support the podcast during this difficult time. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Euan mentioned, we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search TalkLivi to find us. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all of our episodes, including this one, in all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you will find every single episode we have done over the last few years.
So that's it for this week. Thanks again for tuning in. Angus, great debut, mate. Pleasure having you on, and here's obviously to many more. But for now, from you and Angus and myself, we hope you all have a fantastic Christmas, and we hope it's a successful end to the year for Livingston Football Club.
Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, a love will never die. West Lothian, West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Hamden. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Arminville Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the Premier Division. Livingston, 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 Livingston. West Lothian boys, they play with style. They run until they drop. Livingston, oh Livingston, we're going to the top. Livingston, oh Livingston, you carry all our dreams. When we chant your name, you raise your game and beat the other teams. Livingston, 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 Livingston. Oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Albertville Lions roar. Livingston, whoa Livingston, we realize our vision.